Look who's here, John Schafer, director of the new animated movie Light of the World in theaters September 5th. And it's not just for children, it's for big kids too, isn't it?
Absolutely. We made it for everyone. So whether you are a believer or you just love 2D animation or a fun type movie like that, so we made it for everyone.
You've been directing and producing for uh, a few years.
Yeah, I've mainly my biggest, I've directed lots of commercials. This is my first feature film. What I'm known for is I was a producer for the Superbook series, the Reimagined series. So I had been with the Christian Broadcasting Network for 23 years. 16 of that was producing the series. So that's really my background there. And when I came to Salvation Poem Project, when this first was being discussed about doing an animated film about the life of Jesus, they really wanted me to direct. And it was one of those moments like, I find you a great director, but they really felt strongly that I was born to direct this movie.
Right. Animation, has it always been your thing?
So back in 1973, the first movie that I ever saw in a theater with my mom and my dad and my brother was Disney's Robin Hood. So
A
that
true
that
story,
really
apparently. I don't know.
and And that same year, I saw the Charlie Brown Christmas special, and it was the first time watching when Linus is telling Charlie Brown the true meaning of Christmas. It was the first time I had ever heard the name Savior, first time I ever heard the name God, and so I had asked my parents what that was, and it was something they couldn't really answer, and but that was a seed planted in my heart that, over decades later, when I did accept Christ, it was one of those ones that if being able to tell the story of the gospel in animation or now telling the life of Jesus, oh man, it's kind of come full circle for me. So yeah, I love animation.
You've done this in 2D animation. Is that kind of to play into the anime culture right now?
Not necessarily the anime culture. For us, hand-drawn animation, there's something that we really feel is very timeless medium. Like if you look at the original Toy Story, great story and everything, but it kind of outdates visually compared to Toy Story 3 and 4
Yep.
or some of the other films. And so this is a movie that, first and foremost, we are a ministry. Salvation Poem Project is a ministry. And so this is a film that we are going to support over the next 20, 30 years as we scale into different languages, make different medium, different ancillaries out of this film. And so we wanted it to be very timeless. We wanted to kind of change that as well as in the style. So we didn't want to do CGI or anything like that. We want to kind of go back to hey, what was that era of films that we loved in that and animation? And really it is the 80s and 90s. And we often talk about this. If Disney of the 90s made a movie about the life of Jesus, this is that movie without the musical numbers.
Now, how has technology changed as far as animation since the 70s? I mean, you've been doing it a long time, but has the technology adapted and made it easier as well?
Yeah, so our film is 50% of it is literally hand drawn frame by frame. It is literally the traditional way,
Yep.
but it's done on a tablet with a stylus. So here, if you have to redo something, you can kind of just erase, undo, do
And you can
certain
save
things.
your
So
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And so that part of it has helped. And then there's the other part of the animation, 50% of it is rigged where you have the illustrated drawing, but it has skeletal structure in it so the animators can move it just like articulating a hand, all the joints and all that. So those things helped us scale and also how we composite and do all stuff. So the digital technology has helped us accelerate it, but it really starts off though with truly artists doing hand-drawn animation.
Does the technology component make it faster?
In areas, absolutely, and that stuff, and we are able to do more for budget like for us. So we are a $20 million budget film, so we have to be kind of scrappy, pivot really quickly, and that stuff. So yeah, I would say that technology definitely has been an advantage for us. But like if you're a Disney or a Pixar where they have these 100 plus million dollar budgets, they truly can scale to have do it the way they needed to do it. So yeah, but for us as an independent studio, it's helped us a lot.
A director of a movie always needs to oversee the overall, like everything that happens with the movie, um, costumes, makeup, set design. Um, was it tough for you determining the location to film? Oh, I'm
For
sorry.
For us, though, for directing on an animated feature film, we're in, Tom and I were involved in everything from character designs, colors, all the stuff. We have a great foundation. We have the Bible we're going for. We have a
Right,
great history of stuff to work from, but to stylize it and to make it our own, those are the stuff we're involved with. I say the biggest challenge opposed to like a live action film and opposed to an animated film being a director is, if I'm talking to an actor. I'm literally kind of setting up the motivation, telling them what they need to do, and you want that actor to make it their own, and that's what really raises that bar. In an animated film, we take the script, we're talking to a storyboard artist who's drawing that scene between John and Jesus talking. Then from there, we time it out. We get a scratch track of not even the actual actor, but a scratch track to keep costs down and everything, and you're working on that. Then by the time you feel like you landed that, you hire the actual actors, and now you're now going through that. So, and then from there, it goes to the animation studio. So instead of talking to one person, the actor to say what you're looking for, we're talking to several departments over months just for
right,
that same line of dialogue. So that's been very challenging. That's been new to me and challenging.
right. That would certainly make it interesting. Um, So tell us about Light of the World. It's the life of Jesus. It's told through the Apostle John. Now, I guess it's okay to say that it's based on a true story. We're not, letting anything out of the bag or anything like that. No
Yeah.
surprises or anything like that. I'm sure you've taken a few creative liberties, but no spoilers. Is there a twist ending?
There's a very, very touching ending. And I
Okay.
think it's the first time in a faith-based film that where we push that boundary there. So no, it's a very emotional ending.
How many actors are involved in this? I mean, like how many? There's obviously an actor for every character. That must be a whole slew of people you're trying to direct as well.
Yeah, so we would have days where we direct certain groups of people. So, you probably have a dozen mainline actors for your main characters. Some of those mainline characters might do background characters. So we probably have about, 20 some voice talents. But when you look at the scale of our film, over 400 people were involved making this film. So it was lots of departments from everywhere.
How did they work together? I mean, obviously it's happening over a period of time. People doing
Yeah,
different things, trying to
yeah.
mesh it,
So
everything.
Yeah, so Epifio was our development studio, and they're located in Cincinnati, Ohio. So they were the ones that worked with us on designing the characters, designing the world, but also they were working with us at editorial, script, and all that stuff. So they were kind of developing that package that goes overseas. The animation studio is Lighthouse Studios in Ireland. So, you know, uh, everything's done by Zoom. It's very much a virtual studio. Tom and I, both directors, but Tom lives in Nashville. I live in Sparta, Wisconsin. And so everything was Zoom. But my background, though, working on Superbook, all of our animation studios were overseas and we would do stuff. And at that time, it wasn't Zoom, it was Skype, So we're doing everything on
Skype, yeah, I
Skype.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but now, and so in animation, working remotely like that is not unheard of. But also, I think with what happened during the pandemic and content was being generated and studios were gearing up, like Raya, the Disney film, that was all done remotely. That movie was in production. They had to go remote, and that was a feature film that way. So I think we've all learned how to work remote. What's really awesome about it is we can really choose the best of artists or anything. They can be anywhere in the world, and we work with them. So that's been a big advantage too, as well.
Were the actors remote or were they physically in studio?
So they were all in Canada. So they did go to the recording studio. And a lot of people say, well, why'd you guys do the voice work in Canada? And originally, we were looking at doing the stuff in the States, But at that time when we had to kind of pull that trigger, is the Writer Guild was on strike, and then SAG was going on strike. And so it was one of those ones we couldn't afford to shut down production should the Screen Actors Guild go on strike in that. And that's why we pivoted to Canada. And yeah, they all went in studio there, but Tom and I work remotely from our places to direct them.
And did you ever visit while they were working, or that and in Ireland when they were doing
So
the animation part?
So we went to Ireland when we did the handoff to the studio. So when we had all the package, Tom and
Okay.
I and a team of us went there to now explain the kind of the big picture, the vision, the heart of it and everything. And then from there, for Tom and I, we've only went there once, and for the audio, the only time I ever went back, the only time I've gone to Vancouver is when we did the final audio mix with music, sound design, voices, and all that stuff. So.
When did you know it was done? I'm a perfectionist, so and I know a lot of artists, musical artists, where they record a song and oh, I don't like it, or they re-record, or they add some instruments, they tweak it, got to tweak it a bit more, and it's sometimes never quite ready, and then you release it into the world, and then it's like, oh, but I wish I had done this. Like, do you ever have that feeling of regret? Do you ever know that okay, it's done? Like this is the best we could have
Yeah.
done?
Yeah, so for me, I think that's the 33 years at that time being a producer. A producer knows when to say it's done. So for me as a director, obviously we had a truncated schedule, we had a budget that we had to stay within, and so the producer side of me stayed there. But there's moments that you do want to push out, like especially during Crucifixion or the Walking on Water to make it spectacular. And there, me as a director, where I had to say, hey, we could give this note, it might increase it by 5%, make it 5% better. But will the audience know that? Tom and I will absolutely know it.
Yeah.
But will the audience? And also, if it's not jarring, or if it was a point where it was jarring to take you out of the moment, we definitely address it. So we just had to economize. And, Tom coming from Disney, that was probably a hard thing for him because they will keep redoing it, redoing it, redoing it because they can
Sky's the
throw
limit.
more people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
literally. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you hear their stories. But for us, it was one of those ones that, no, we had to be really smart about it. And so for me, I am very, very happy with how the film turned out. And to be honest with you, there's moments in that film where I watch it in a theater and I kind of, turn to my wife saying, "Man, who made this movie?" Because it just turned out amazing for, beyond I will say this, beyond my expectations. And I had big expectations.
So without giving too much away, is there a favorite moment in the movie where you think, do you think to yourself, this is the pivotal moment. This is maybe it's a climax, or maybe it's just, man, I just love the way this part came together from your creative director side.
I would say the creative side was Walking on Water because that one was pushing the boundaries of this is a lot of stuff, hand drawn animation of the water using a CGI boat that had to be re-hand drawn. And so technically everything from the animation for the music and for the sound design, that was for a creative point of view, that was so fulfilling to me. And at the end of the film, and there's a moment at the very, very end when John and he's with his father Zebedee. That moment is so personal for me because that is a moment between me and my dad. And so when you see the movie, you'll understand why that ending moment is so personal to me because that is a moment with me and my dad.
Whose decision was it to tell the story in the eyes of the Apostle John?
So the original script, we had Brendan McPherson, who is president of Salvation Poem Project, the producer of the film, but also he was the story architect. So the original script that Brendan and I was working through, and really I should say Brendan, because he was thinking it through, is originally it was John at 85 on the island of Patmos telling the children this story, and then we go through flashbacks, and it was always making John young. We had always imagined him being in that 13-year range of coming into adulthood, because a lot of when we were doing our research, a lot of historians and theologians kind of believe that the disciples would have been in their upper teenage years, and Peter would have probably been the oldest, early to mid 20s, and so we leaned into that side of the story there. And for me as a director, the tone of the movie I wanted. And so when people ask me, when we're working with everyone is, what's the tone to you? What movie could you reference as a tone? And I said, it's Back to the Future meets the Goonies. And that's kind of the tone of the film. And it really worked with having John being that age. But also, it when my experience with Superbook, when you see children gravitate towards someone who's in that age group and it feels like it's one of them. And so that was the other part there. But it started that way. And when we brought on our other writers, David and Drew Armstrong and that, and they said, hey guys, we like the story we were telling. We know why you're using old John to tell the story because he can go back and forth with exposition and that. But we actually think the fun story is this going from John at a young age, real time. And that's where we made that pivot. So it was a group effort to get to there, but we're very happy about it.
Yeah, I guess, and certainly the way it was crafted, it sounds like this is very relatable, like you say, to the kids, where they can listen and watch eagerly, anticipating what could happen because of that age difference, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But it's not really
Yeah.
an age difference. It's more, just a perhaps for some kids, it just might be a slightly older brother or sister telling the story to them, right?
Yeah. No, it's very relatable and and it's kind of that coming of age story. If you look at all the stuff back of the Disney of the 90s or DreamWorks of the 90s and or 2000s, I should say with DreamWorks is it's got that coming of age story. There's something about that draws not just children, but even for adults. And so when we made this movie, we weren't targeting children. We made this movie as a family experience. Like when Lion King came out, that wasn't geared for children. It was geared for a family, and we really wanted to lean into that. And that's why we're excited about it, kind of bringing that era back to today. And I think it'd be an amazing experience for families to see it in the theaters, like when I saw Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or, those in the theater.
So is the movie done? And what I mean by that is you mentioned at the top that you're looking at different languages, taking it to different countries and whatnot.
Oh,
So does that mean it's going to keep going? It's still a project you're working on?
yeah, so for Salvation Poem Project, we actually have a game division. So a game is being made right now, and I believe it's coming out sometime in first quarter of 2027. But for Light of the World, this is our next 20 to 30 year project. So the film is done, but that's where the real work begins because we want to get it translated in as many languages as possible, get it released in the ministries, help create ancillaries out of the film, out of that content there. And so for us, what Crew did with Jesus film, this is what we are. Light of the World is going to be that big. That's our big staple. That's our big thing. But we are creating other content, content stuff, games and that. Because Salvation Poem, what our goal is we are a media ministry to create the highest quality of content, do its initial release, but after it's done its initial release and SF, give it away to all ministries around the world. But when I say that, it's so important for people to see it in the theaters because those box office, those the numbers that come in from the box office returns back to us. Because if you want to give something away for free, it costs a lot of money to do that. And so that's what we're doing is, why we're doing the theatrical releases, give longevity to Light of the World.
Absolutely, absolutely. Does that mean your part is done, or are you moving on to the next project or next animated movie, or you're still involved in the process as far as some of the stuff that's going to be happening over the next few years?
I would always hope, and it's a Brennan's call, but I've always want to be part of Light of the World and be part of that because it's so near and dear to me. It's the most important thing I've ever done in my life. But also as a storyteller, being the in-house director, I know there's other projects kind of in development and we were talking about. But yeah, for me, I'll always be attached to Light of the World.
That's awesome. Listen, I know you got to run. Thank you so much for your time. I have not seen the movie yet. I'm looking forward to it, and like you said, it's a family thing, so we'll definitely be going with the family.
Oh man. Well, maybe we do another interview and tell me what you thought about it, and we
Uh,
can kind of go why we made those choices.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.